Captain Mark adjusted his formal uniform as he stepped off the transport ship onto the crystalline surface of Nexus Prime. The Valerian homeworld stretched before him like a living jewel, with towers that seemed to grow from the ground itself and shimmer with their own inner light. This was humanity's first chance to join the galactic community, and Mark knew the weight of billions of human lives rested on these negotiations. Ambassador Kate walked beside him, her diplomatic case filled with trade agreements and cultural exchange proposals. Behind them, Dr. Emma carried her scientific equipment, ready to share Earth's biological data with any interest of Valerian researchers. The three humans represented everything their species had to offer to the vast Valerian empire that controlled nearly half the known galaxy. The Valerian escort was led by Princess Lyra herself, a tall figure with silver skin that caught the light of the twin suns overhead. Her eyes were large and dark, and when she spoke, her voice carried the musical quality that all Valerians seemed to possess. She had insisted on greeting the human delegation personally, which Mark took as a good sign for the upcoming talks. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Princess Lyra said as she approached. "My father, the Emperor, sends his greetings, though he remains in the capital for other pressing matters. I will represent our people in these discussions." Mark bowed slightly, having studied Valerian customs for months. "Your Highness, we are honored by your presence. Humanity looks forward to learning from your ancient civilization." The group moved through the crystal corridors of the diplomatic complex. Valerian architecture was unlike anything on Earth, with walls that seemed to pulse gently with soft light and floors that felt warm beneath their feet. Other alien species moved through the halls, representatives from dozens of worlds that had already joined the Valerian sphere of influence. As they reached the main conference chamber, Princess Lyra gestured to the viewing area where they could see the planet's landscape. "Tell me about your world," she said to Kate. "We have received your basic reports, but I am curious about your people's daily lives." Kate smiled, recognizing the opportunity to build personal connections before the formal talks began. "Earth is quite diverse, Your Highness. We have many different climates and seasons. Our people live in cities and towns across all the continents." "Seasons." Princess Lyra repeated the word thoughtfully. "Yes, we understand seasons. Our breeding time comes with the warm season, when the crystal formations on our world pulse with the strongest energy. It is the same across most worlds in our empire. When does your species breed?" Dr. Emma looked up from arranging her equipment. "Oh, humans can have children at any time of the year. We don't have a specific breeding season like many other species." The chamber fell completely silent. Princess Lyra's large eyes widened, and her silver skin seemed to darken slightly. "Excuse me," she said slowly. "Did you say your people breed year-round?" Kate nodded casually. "Yes. Human babies are born in every month. Spring, summer, fall, winter. It doesn't matter to us. We form partnerships and start families whenever we choose." Princess Lyra took a step backward. Around the chamber, other Valerian officials began whispering among themselves in their musical language. The sound grew louder and more agitated with each passing moment. "That is impossible," Princess Lyra declared, her voice rising above the whispers. "No intelligent species breeds without seasonal cycles. The biological energy required, the social disruption, the resource management. It cannot be done." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. This was not how he had expected the negotiations to begin. "Your Highness, I assure you our information is accurate. Human reproduction is indeed possible throughout the year." "You are lying," Princess Lyra said flatly. The musical quality was gone from her voice, replaced by something cold and sharp. "No species can maintain year-round fertility and still develop advanced civilization. The energy cost alone would prevent technological advancement." Dr. Emma stepped forward with her tablet. "I have biological data that shows human hormonal cycles and reproductive patterns. Would you like to examine the evidence?" Princess Lyra's expression grew even more severe. "Evidence can be falsified. Data can be manipulated. I believe you humans are attempting to deceive us about your true nature to gain advantage in these negotiations." The other Valerians in the chamber were now speaking loudly among themselves. Mark caught fragments of translation from his earpiece. Words like impossible, deception, and dangerous. The situation was spiraling out of control faster than he could process. "Your Highness," Kate tried to interject diplomatically, "perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. Our reproductive biology is simply different from yours. That doesn't make it false or deceptive. Different." Princess Lyra's voice cracked like breaking crystal. "You claim your species can breed like animals without wisdom or timing and call it different? You insult the natural order that governs all intelligent life." Commander Thane, Princess Lyra's military advisor, moved closer to his princess. Mark had noticed a Valerian officer watching the humans with suspicion from the moment they arrived. Now Thane's hand rested near his weapon, and his stance suggested he viewed the humans as a potential threat. "Princess," Thane said quietly, but loud enough for the humans to hear, "perhaps these creatures are more primitive than we initially assessed. Their claims suggest they have not evolved beyond their animal instincts." Mark felt his diplomatic training kick, and despite the insult, "Commander Thane, I understand our differences may seem surprising, but humans have built a technological civilization across our entire planet. Our reproductive patterns have not prevented our advancement." "Lies upon lies," Princess Lyra said, her voice now carrying the authority of absolute command. "I have studied the biology of 47 different species across this galaxy. None breed year-round except the most basic forms of life. You cannot expect us to believe that humans have somehow transcended the fundamental laws of evolutionary biology." The princess began pacing, her agitation clear to everyone in the chamber. "My ancestors have maintained detailed records for thousands of years. Every intelligent species follows the same pattern. Specific breeding seasons tied to environmental conditions and resource availability. It is the foundation of civilized society." Dr. Emma made one more attempt to present her data. "Your Highness, if you would examine our medical records, you would see clear evidence of human births occurring in all months of our year. We have brought comprehensive documentation. Documentation that you have had months to prepare and falsify." Princess Lyra shot back. "Why should we trust data that contradicts everything we know about intelligent life in the galaxy?" The chamber erupted in chaos as Valerian officials began shouting over each other. Some seemed to be arguing for immediate expulsion of the human delegation, while others called for investigation of the claims. Through it all, Princess Lyra stood rigid in the center, her dark eyes fixed on the three humans. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. When the chamber quieted, her voice carried the weight of royal decree. "Humans, you have made claims that challenge the fundamental understanding of biology that has guided our civilization for millennia. Either you are lying to gain negotiating advantage, or you represent something so alien that it threatens the natural order itself." Mark opened his mouth to respond, but Princess Lyra continued before he could speak. "Under the ancient laws of our people, I formally challenge the truth of your claims. You have 30 rotations of our world to provide undeniable proof that humans can indeed breed year-round. If you fail, or if your proof is found lacking, humanity will be declared unfit for inclusion in civilized galactic society." The princess turned toward the exit, her silver skin reflecting the crystal walls around them. "Until you can prove you are telling the truth about something so basic as your own biology, there will be no negotiations between our peoples." As Princess Lyra and her entourage swept from the chamber, Mark stood frozen beside his fellow humans. In less than an hour, what should have been routine diplomatic introductions had become a challenge that would determine humanity's entire future among the stars. Mark stood in the empty conference chamber long after Princess Lyra had stormed out. The crystal walls still hummed with energy, but the room felt cold and hostile now. Kate paced back and forth, her diplomatic training warring with the frustration written across her face. Dr. Emma sat quietly in one of the chairs, staring at her tablet full of biological data that the princess had refused to examine. 30 rotations, Mark said finally. "How long is that in Earth time?" Dr. Emma looked up from her calculations. "Based on the planetary data we received, about 42 Earth days. 6 weeks to prove something that should be obvious to anyone with basic medical knowledge." Kate stopped pacing and turned to face them. "This is a disaster. We came here expecting normal diplomatic negotiations, and instead we're facing some kind of trial by combat with our reproductive biology as the weapon. Mark activated his communication device to contact their ship in orbit. Commander Ross, we have a situation down here. I need you to prepare a message for Earth Command immediately. The voice crackled back through the device. What kind of situation, Captain? The Valerians seemed quite welcoming when we arrived. They were, until they learned that humans can have babies year-round. Apparently, that's impossible according to their understanding of biology, and now they think we're either lying or some kind of dangerous anomaly. There was a long pause from the ship. Sir, did you just say they don't believe humans can reproduce outside of specific seasons? That's exactly what I'm saying, Commander. Princess Lyra has given us 6 weeks to prove our claims or humanity gets banned from joining galactic civilization. Dr. Emma stood up suddenly. Mark, I think I understand what happened here. In my xenobiology studies, I read about species that have seasonal breeding cycles tied to environmental factors. Most evolved on worlds with extreme seasonal variations where timing reproduction correctly meant survival. Kate nodded slowly. So, for them, year-round breeding would seem wasteful and dangerous. It would mean having children when resources might be scarce or environmental conditions hostile. Exactly, Dr. Emma continued. But Earth has relatively stable climate zones where different regions experience different seasons at the same time. Humans spread across the globe and adapted to breed successfully regardless of local seasonal patterns. Mark felt a spark of hope. So we're not biological impossibilities. We're just adapted to different conditions than they expect. The problem is convincing them of that, Kate said grimly. Princess Lyra seemed personally offended by our claims. This isn't just about biology anymore. It's about honor and credibility. The communication device crackled again. Captain, we're receiving an official message from the Valerian government. They're requesting detailed biological samples and documentation from Earth to support your claims. Mark looked at his companions. That could take months to arrange through proper diplomatic channels. We only have 6 weeks. Dr. Emma was already pulling up files on her tablet. What if we don't wait for official documentation? I have authorization to request biological research volunteers from the human colonies in this sector. We could bring actual people here to demonstrate natural human reproductive cycles. You want to bring pregnant women and new parents to an alien world as evidence. Kate asked incredulously. Not just pregnant women. Families with children of different ages. Couples in various stages of family planning. Medical records showing births throughout Earth's calendar year. Real people living real lives, not just data on a screen. Mark considered the proposal. It was risky, but it might be their only chance. The Valerians would have to agree to let us bring civilians into their space. And we'd need volunteers willing to travel this far from home for a diplomatic mission. I think you'd be surprised how many people would volunteer, Dr. Emma said. The chance to be part of first contact with an alien civilization, to help secure humanity's place in galactic society. There are thousands of families in the outer colonies who would jump at the opportunity. Kate was already working on her own tablet. I can draft a formal request to Princess Lyra for permission to bring human families as evidence. If we frame it as a scientific exchange rather than a challenge to her authority, she might be more receptive. Mark activated his communicator again. Commander Ross, I need you to send a priority message to Earth Command and all human colonies in this sector. We need volunteers, families with children, pregnant couples, anyone willing to travel here to demonstrate human reproductive patterns. Make it clear this is crucial for humanity's future relationship with the galactic community. Understood, Captain. What about the Valerians? Are they going to let us bring more humans into their space? We're working on that now. Dr. Emma looked up from her tablet. I've been thinking about Princess Lyra's reaction. She wasn't just surprised or confused. She was angry, almost like she felt personally betrayed by our claims. You think there's something more going on here? Mark asked. Maybe. The way she spoke about evolutionary biology and natural order. It sounded like deeply held beliefs, not just scientific knowledge. What if year-round breeding challenges something fundamental about how Valerians view intelligence and civilization? Kate nodded thoughtfully. That would explain why she jumped to accusations of deception so quickly. If their entire understanding of advanced life is built on seasonal breeding patterns, then we're not just different, we're wrong according to their worldview. Which makes this much more complicated than just providing biological evidence, Mark realized. We're asking them to reconsider basic assumptions about life itself. The chamber's communication system activated with a soft chime. Princess Lyra's voice filled the room, though she was clearly speaking from elsewhere in the complex. Humans, you have requested additional members of your species to support your claims. This request is granted, but under strict conditions. Mark quickly activated the response system. We're listening, Your Highness. Any humans you bring to our world will be subject to continuous medical monitoring by our scientists. They will remain in designated areas under guard at all times. And if your evidence is found insufficient, all humans will be expelled from Valerian space immediately. We understand and accept those conditions, Mark replied. Furthermore, the princess continued, you should know that there are members of my court who believe your claims represent a fundamental threat to galactic stability. Commander Thane has argued that any species capable of uncontrolled breeding should be quarantined rather than welcomed into civilized society. Kate shot a worried look at Mark. Your Highness, humanity has never been uncontrolled in our reproduction. We simply have the biological capability to reproduce year-round when conditions are appropriate. That remains to be proven, Princess Lyra said coldly. You have 30 rotations, -1. Use them wisely. The communication ended with a sharp click, leaving the three humans alone again in the crystal chamber. Dr. Emma broke the silence. Did she just say some of them want to quarantine humanity? It sounds like we have opposition beyond just Princess Lyra, Mark said grimly. This Commander Thane seems to view us as a threat rather than potential allies. Kate was already composing messages on her tablet. Then we need to be absolutely perfect in our presentation. Not just convincing, but overwhelming. We need evidence so clear and comprehensive that even the most skeptical Valerian couldn't deny it. No pressure, Dr. Emma muttered, but she was already pulling up biological charts and research data. Mark looked out through the crystal walls at the alien landscape beyond. Somewhere out there, decisions were being made that would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community or remained isolated among the stars. Everything depended on proving something as basic as when human babies could be born. All right, he said finally, let's get to work. We have a species to save. 3 weeks after Princess Lyra's challenge, the first group of human volunteers arrived at Nexus Prime aboard 2 transport ships. Mark watched from the landing platform as families emerged into the crystalline world's strange light. Tom and Lisa stepped off first, Lisa carrying their 6-month-old daughter, while Tom held the hand of their 3-year-old son. Behind them came Mike and Anna with twin babies born just 2 months ago, followed by several other couples in various stages of family planning. Dr. Emma had done her work well. The volunteers represented a perfect cross-section of human reproductive patterns. There were families with children born in every Earth month, pregnant women due at different times, and couples who had been trying to conceive during different seasons. Each family carried detailed medical records dating back years, showing the natural progression of human reproduction without seasonal restrictions. Princess Lyra stood waiting with a group of Valerian scientists, her expression unreadable behind the formal mask of royal protocol. Dr. Kale, the court physician, stepped forward as the humans gathered on the platform. His bioscanner devices hummed with energy as they automatically began collecting data from every human present. Welcome to our world, Princess Lyra said stiffly. You are here to provide evidence for claims that challenge our understanding of intelligent life. We will conduct thorough examinations to determine the truth. Lisa bounced her baby gently as the infant began to fuss in the unfamiliar environment. Your Highness, we're happy to help. Our daughter was born in Earth's winter season, while our son was born in summer. We have medical records for both births. Dr. Kale's large eyes widened as he studied his scanner readings. Princess, these readings show active hormonal cycles in multiple females simultaneously. This should not be possible outside of breeding season. Tom stepped protectively closer to his wife. Is there something wrong with the examination? Wrong, Dr. Kale looked confused. No, there is nothing wrong. That is precisely the problem. Your female's hormonal patterns indicate she can conceive again at any time, regardless of seasonal conditions. Princess Lyra moved closer to examine the readings herself. Show me the data on their offspring. Dr. Kale adjusted his scanner to focus on the human children. The younger child shows biological markers consistent with winter birth timing. The older child shows markers for summer birth. Both are healthy and developed normally, but they were born in opposite seasonal conditions. That's impossible, Commander Thane interjected from behind the princess. Offspring born in wrong seasons should show developmental problems or reduce survival rates. Mike stepped forward with his twin babies. Commander, both our daughters were born during Earth's autumn season. They're perfectly healthy and developing normally. Would you like to examine them as well? Dr. Kale's hands trembled slightly as he ran his scanner over the twins. Princess, these infants are identical in development despite being conceived and born outside any recognized breeding season. Their growth patterns match optimal development standards. Princess Lyra stared at the human families gathered before her. Dr. Kale, in your medical training, have you ever encountered anything like this? Never, Your Highness. In 40 years of studying biological systems across dozens of worlds, I have never seen intelligent beings maintain fertility outside of environmental breeding triggers. Dr. Emma stepped forward with her tablet full of data. Dr. Kale, would you like to review our comprehensive medical records? We have documentation showing human births occurring in all 12 months of our year, across multiple generations. The Valerian physician accepted the tablet with obvious reluctance. As he scrolled through the data, his expression grew more amazed and disturbed. Princess, this documentation shows continuous reproductive activity across their entire species. Births recorded in every seasonal period, fertility rates that remain constant throughout their calendar year. Commander Thane moved closer to examine the data himself. How do they manage resource allocation? Caring for young during hostile seasons should deplete their energy reserves. Anna, one of the mothers, overheard the question. Commander, humans developed agriculture and food storage thousands of years ago. We don't depend on seasonal hunting or gathering anymore. We can provide for children year-round. But the energy cost of the females, Dr. Kale protested. Maintaining constant reproductive readiness should prevent intellectual development. Lisa laughed, the sound causing several Valerians to step back in surprise. Doctor, human women work as scientists, engineers, leaders, and artists while raising children. Reproduction doesn't limit our mental capabilities. Princess Lyra had been silent through most of the examination, but now she spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Kale, are you certain these readings are accurate? Princess, I have checked the scanners 3 times. The biological evidence is undeniable. These humans demonstrate reproductive patterns that should not exist in intelligent life. Tom noticed the princess seemed shaken by the evidence. Your Highness, is there something about our biology that concerns you? Princess Lyra looked at him for a long moment before responding. Human, your species claims to maintain constant breeding readiness while achieving technological advancement. This contradicts everything we know about evolutionary development. Dr. Emma seized the opportunity to present more evidence. Princess, we also brought genetic samples showing human adaptation across different climate zones on Earth. Our species evolved to reproduce successfully in tropical, temperate, and even Arctic environments. Dr. Kale accepted the genetic samples with growing amazement. These show adaptation to environmental extremes while maintaining reproductive flexibility. How is this possible? Earth has many different climate zones operating simultaneously, Dr. Emma explained. While one region experiences winter, another experiences summer. Humans spread across the globe and adapted to breed successfully regardless of local seasonal conditions. Commander Thane studied the genetic data with obvious skepticism. This level of adaptability suggests your species lacks proper environmental controls. Uncontrolled breeding could lead to overpopulation and resource depletion. Mike adjusted one of his twin daughters in his arms. Commander, humans practice family planning. We choose when to have children based on our personal circumstances, not uncontrolled biological urges. You choose? Princess Lyra asked sharply. You mean individuals decide breeding timing without regard to community needs or environmental conditions? Anna nodded. Yes, Your Highness. Human couples plan their families based on their emotional readiness, financial stability, and personal desires. The princess began pacing, her silver skin reflecting the crystal walls around them. This is beyond irregular reproductive biology. You're describing a complete rejection of natural breeding hierarchies. Dr. Kale looked up from his scanners with an expression of scientific fascination, mixed with concern. Princess, I must report that all the evidence supports their claims. Human reproductive patterns are unlike anything in our galactic databases. Commander Thane moved closer to the princess, speaking in low tones that the humans could still hear. Your Highness, this confirms my concerns about their species. Uncontrolled breeding combined with individual choice over community needs suggests dangerous instability. Princess Lyra stopped pacing and faced the human families directly. Your evidence appears genuine, but it raises more questions than it answers. How does your species maintain social order when breeding decisions are left to individuals? Tom and Lisa exchanged glances before Tom responded. Your Highness, we maintain social order through cooperation, shared values, and mutual respect. Having children year-round doesn't create chaos. It gives us flexibility to build families when we're ready. Ready according to what authority? The princess asked. According to ourselves, Lisa said simply, we decide when we're emotionally and practically prepared to raise children well. Princess Lyra stared at her for several seconds. You decide for yourselves, without consulting community leaders, seasonal energy cycles, or environmental conditions. That's correct, Your Highness. Dr. Kale finished his examination of the final genetic samples and approached the princess with his results. Your Highness, I have completed analysis of their biological evidence. Everything they claim about year-round reproduction is scientifically accurate. The crystal chamber fell silent, except for the soft sounds of human babies and the gentle humming of Valerian technology. Princess Lyra looked at the evidence, then at the human families, then at her own advisors. Dr. Kale, she said finally, prepare a full report on your findings. Commander Thane convened the Royal Council. We must decide what this evidence means for our understanding of intelligent life. As the Valerians began to file out of the chamber, Princess Lyra paused near the human families. Your children, she said quietly. They seem healthy and well cared for despite being born in different seasons. Lisa smiled and gently adjusted her daughter's blanket. Yes, Your Highness. Children born in any season can thrive when they're wanted and loved. Princess Lyra stared at the baby for a long moment before turning away without another word. Princess Lyra stood alone in her private chambers, staring out at the crystal gardens that surrounded the royal palace. 3 days had passed since Dr. Kale confirmed the truth about human reproduction, and she had barely slept since then. Everything she thought she knew about intelligent life had been turned upside down by a group of humans carrying babies and medical records. A soft chime announced the arrival of her personal advisor, an elderly Valerian named Counselor Nira, who had served the royal family for decades. Princess, you requested to see me? Nira, sit with me, Lyra said, gesturing to the crystal benches near the window. I need to understand something that makes no sense to me. Counselor Nira settled beside her princess, her aged silver skin showing the wisdom marks that came with advanced years. You are troubled by the human evidence. Troubled? Lyra laughed bitterly. I am destroyed by it. For 28 years, I have believed that breeding seasons define the difference between animals and civilized beings. Now, these humans show me that everything I learned was wrong. Perhaps not wrong, Princess. Perhaps simply incomplete. Lyra turned to face her advisor. How can it be incomplete? We have studied 47 different species across the galaxy. Every single one follows seasonal breeding patterns tied to environmental conditions. It is a foundation of evolutionary biology. And yet the humans exist, Nira said gently. They are clearly intelligent, clearly civilized, and clearly capable of year-round reproduction. What does this tell us? That I am a fool who knows nothing about the galaxy I am supposed to help rule, Lyra said with frustration. Counselor Nira placed a gentle hand on the princess's arm. Or that the galaxy is larger and more diverse than we ever imagined. Perhaps these humans can teach us something valuable. Commander Thane disagrees. He believes they are dangerous. And what do you believe, Princess? Lyra was quiet for several minutes, watching the crystal formations in the garden pulse with their natural rhythm. I spoke with the human families yesterday. The mother named Lisa told me about choosing one of children based on love and readiness rather than seasonal energy cycles. That must have seemed very strange to you. It did at first, but then I thought about our own people. We wait for breeding season because our biology demands it, but what if we could choose? What if Valerian couples could decide when they felt ready for children instead of waiting for the next cycle? Counselor Nira raised her eyebrows in surprise. Princess, that is a radical thought. Is it? Or is it freedom? Lyra stood and began pacing, a habit she had developed when working through complex problems. These humans form partnerships based on emotional connection rather than breeding compatibility. They raise children who were born in different seasons equally well. They make family decisions as individuals rather than following community breeding schedules. Such practices would disrupt our entire social structure, Nero warned. Would they? Or would they give our people more control over their own lives? Lyra stopped pacing and faced her advisor. Nira, I have been watching the human families for 3 days. Their children are happy, healthy, and well-educated. Their parents are devoted and loving. How can we call this dangerous? A communication device chimed softly, interrupting their conversation. Commander Thane's voice filled the chamber. Princess, the Royal Council has reached a decision regarding the human evidence. Your presence is requested immediately. Lyra exchanged glances with Counselor Nira. This is it. The Council will decide whether humans are accepted or expelled from our space. And which decision do you hope they make? Nira asked. I honestly don't know anymore. The Royal Council chamber was filled with representatives from across the Valerian Empire. Nobles from a dozen different worlds sat in the crystal chairs that formed concentric circles around the central platform. At the center stood Commander Thane with a data tablet containing Dr. Kale's full report on human biology. Emperor Valdris sat on the raised throne, his ancient features showing the weight of ruling an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems. Princess Lyra took her place at his right hand, while Commander Thane positioned himself at the center of the assembly. We have gathered to address the human situation, Emperor Valdris announced, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power. Commander Thane, present your analysis. Thane activated his tablet, projecting holographic displays of human biological data above the assembly. Your Majesty, the evidence is clear. Humans do indeed maintain year-round reproductive capability. However, I submit that this makes them fundamentally incompatible with civilized galactic society. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Duke Corin of the Industrial Worlds stood to speak. Commander, explain your reasoning. Your Grace, consider the implications. A species that breeds without environmental controls cannot develop proper resource management. A species that makes individual reproductive choices instead of community decisions cannot maintain social stability. These humans represent chaos disguised as civilization. Princess Lyra felt her frustration rising. Commander, have you examined their actual society, their technological achievements, their cultural developments? Princess, I have reviewed their submitted data. Yes, they have achieved technology and culture, but at what cost? Their planet shows signs of environmental stress from overpopulation. Their societies struggle with resource distribution. Their political systems are fragmented into hundreds of competing nations. Baron Vex from the outer colonies raised his hand. Commander Thane speaks wisdom. Uncontrolled breeding leads to expansion pressure. These humans will inevitably seek to colonize new worlds to support their growing population. And what is wrong with colonization? Princess Lyra asked sharply. We ourselves expanded across the galaxy when our population grew. But we expanded in controlled waves during specific periods, Duke Corin replied. We maintain environmental balance and social order. These humans expand continuously, like a biological infection. Emperor Valdris raised his hand for silence. Princess Lyra, you have spent time with these humans. What is your assessment? Lyra stood, knowing that her next words could determine humanity's fate. Father, I have observed human families closely. Their children are well cared for regardless of birth season. Their parents make thoughtful decisions about family size and timing. Their social bonds appear stronger than many species we have welcomed into our empire. Commander Thane immediately objected. Princess, you are being deceived by their appearance of stability. Any species capable of unlimited breeding will eventually become a threat to galactic resources. Unlimited? Lyra challenged. Commander, have you reviewed their actual population statistics? Human families typically have 1 to 4 children over their entire reproductive lifespan. They practice voluntary population control through individual choice. Choice that could change at any time, Thane countered. What happens when humans decide to have larger families? What happens when they face resource shortages and need to expand aggressively? Count Zara from the military worlds joined the debate. Commander Thane raises valid concerns. A species with unrestricted breeding capability could become expansionist and aggressive if their resources become limited. Princess Lyra looked around the chamber at faces filled with fear and suspicion. So we condemn an entire species because of what they might do rather than what they have actually done? We protect the stability of galactic civilization, Emperor Valdris said firmly. That is our primary responsibility. Dr. Kale, who had been silent throughout the debate, requested permission to speak. Your Majesty, if I may present a medical perspective? Proceed, Doctor. The human reproductive system represents a remarkable evolutionary adaptation. They have achieved biological flexibility that allows them to thrive in diverse environments while maintaining population stability through conscious choice. This is not primitive behavior. It is advanced evolutionary development. Commander Thane shook his head. Doctor, you are describing a species that has bypassed natural population controls. That is precisely what makes them dangerous. Or, Dr. Kale replied, it describes a species that has evolved beyond the need for external population controls because they have developed internal wisdom and restraint. Princess Lyra felt a spark of hope. Dr. Kale is right. These humans have not lost control of their reproduction. They have gained control over it. They choose when and how many children to have based on their ability to care for them properly. The chamber erupted in debate as nobles argued among themselves about the implications of human biology and behavior. Some saw opportunity for learning and growth, while others saw only threat and chaos. Emperor Valdris finally called for order. We will adjourn for private deliberation. Princess Lyra, Commander Thane, Dr. Kale, you will remain for final consultation. As the other nobles filed out of the chamber, Lyra realized that the next few minutes would determine whether humanity joined the galactic community or remained forever isolated among the stars. The Royal Council chamber felt like a tomb as Emperor Valdris studied the 3 advisors who remained before him. Princess Lyra stood straight, despite her exhaustion, while Commander Thane maintained his rigid military posture. Dr. Kale clutched his medical tablets, ready to present more evidence if needed. Commander Thane, the Emperor began, explain to me exactly what threat these humans pose to our empire. Thane stepped forward with confidence. Your Majesty, they represent biological chaos. Any species that breeds without natural controls will eventually consume all available resources and expand aggressively to find more. History shows us that uncontrolled population growth leads to war and conquest. And yet, Princess Lyra interjected, their own population records show stable growth rates over centuries. They have not consumed their world's resources or expanded aggressively into space until recently, because they have been limited to one world. Thane replied, give them access to galactic civilization, and that will change rapidly. Their breeding patterns make long-term coexistence impossible. Emperor Valdris turned to Dr. Kale. Doctor, from a biological perspective, are these humans truly unstable? Dr. Kale consulted his data before responding. Your Majesty, my analysis suggests the opposite. Human reproductive flexibility represents evolutionary success, not failure. They have achieved population stability through conscious choice rather than biological limitation. This indicates advanced cognitive development, not primitive instinct. Conscious choice can change, Thane argued. Biological limitations cannot. Which foundation for galactic stability would you prefer? Princess Lyra felt her frustration boiling over. Father, we are debating theory while ignoring reality. These human families have shown us living proof of stable, loving relationships that produce healthy, well-educated children. How can we call that dangerous? Emperor Valdris raised his hand for silence. Princess, you speak as if you've been personally affected by these humans. Lyra paused, realizing that her father was right. I've been affected, Father. 3 days ago, I believed I understood the natural order of intelligent life. These humans have shown me that there might be other ways to organize society, other approaches to family and reproduction that work just as well as our own. That is exactly what concerns me. Thane said sharply, Princess, you are beginning to question our fundamental values based on contact with one alien species. This demonstrates the corrupting influence I warned about. Corrupting? Lyra's voice rose with anger. Commander, learning new things and questioning old assumptions is not corruption. It is growth. Emperor Valdris studied his daughter carefully. Princess, are you suggesting we should change Valerian society to match human patterns? No, Father. I am suggesting we should not condemn humans for having different patterns at work for their species. The galaxy is large enough for multiple approaches to civilization. Dr. Kale stepped forward with his tablet. Your Majesty, if I may show you something that might help resolve this debate? The Emperor nodded, and Dr. Kale projected a holographic display showing comparative data from dozens of species across the galaxy. This chart shows reproductive patterns, population stability, technological advancement, and social development for every species in our empire. The hologram highlighted various species in different colors. The green markers show species with strict seasonal breeding like ourselves. The blue markers show species with limited breeding seasons. And this red marker shows the humans. Emperor Valdris studied the display carefully. The humans show higher technological advancement and social complexity than most species, despite their unusual reproductive patterns. Exactly, Your Majesty. The evidence suggests that reproductive flexibility may actually enhance rather than limit civilizational development. Commander Thane moved closer to examine the data. Doctor, this chart does not account for long-term stability. We have maintained our civilization for thousands of years. These humans have only recently achieved space travel. But they achieve it faster than any other species on record, Dr. Kale replied. Their rapid development might be connected to their reproductive flexibility and individual choice-making. Princess Lyra seized on this point. Father, what if human reproductive patterns are not a weakness but a strength? What if the ability to adapt quickly and make individual decisions is exactly what our empire needs? Needs for what? Emperor Valdris asked. For growth, for innovation, for solving problems we have never encountered before. Lyra began pacing as her ideas crystallized. We have built a stable empire based on predictable patterns and collective decisions. But what happens when we face unpredictable challenges that require rapid adaptation? Commander Thane shook his head vigorously. Princess, you're suggesting we abandon proven methods for experimental chaos. I am suggesting we add new capabilities to our existing strengths, Lyra replied. These humans could serve as advisors and innovators, bringing fresh perspectives to problems that have stumped our traditional approaches. Emperor Valdris was quiet for several minutes, studying the data display and considering the arguments. Finally, he spoke. Commander Thane, your concerns about stability are noted and valid. Dr. Kale, your evidence about human biological success is compelling. Princess Lyra, your arguments about adaptation and growth have merit. The three advisors waited tensely for the Emperor's decision. However, he continued, this decision affects not just our empire, but the entire galactic community. We cannot make it based solely on biological evidence or theoretical arguments. Princess Lyra felt her heart sink, but her father was not finished. Therefore, I propose a trial period. The humans will be granted provisional membership in our galactic community for 1 full year. During that time, they will serve as cultural and scientific advisors to our research institutions. We will observe their behavior, their contributions, and their impact on galactic stability. Commander Thane looked shocked. Your Majesty, this is extremely risky. All progress involves risk. Commander, the question is whether the potential benefits outweigh the potential dangers. Dr. Kale bowed respectfully. A wise decision, Your Majesty. A trial period will provide concrete evidence rather than theoretical speculation. Princess Lyra felt hope returning. Father, what conditions will apply during this trial period? Human families will be welcome on Valerian worlds as cultural ambassadors. Human scientists will collaborate with our researchers on projects of mutual interest. Human leaders will participate in advisory councils for galactic policy discussions. And if they prove unstable or dangerous, Thane asked, then they will be permanently expelled from galactic civilization. Emperor Valdris said firmly. But if they prove beneficial, they will be offered full membership with all rights and responsibilities. The Emperor stood from his throne, signaling the end of the formal discussion. Princess Lyra, you will oversee the integration program personally. This will be your responsibility and your test as future ruler. I understand, Father. Commander Thane, you will monitor security and report any concerns immediately. Your vigilance will help ensure galactic safety. Thane bowed stiffly. As you command, Your Majesty. Dr. Kale, you will study human biology and culture throughout this period. Your scientific analysis will inform our final decision. It will be my honor, Your Majesty. As the 3 advisors prepared to leave, Emperor Valdris called out to his daughter. Princess, one more thing. Yes, Father. These humans have already taught you to question assumptions and consider new possibilities. That alone suggests they may be valuable allies for our future. 3 months later, Princess Lyra stood in the crystal gardens of the royal palace, watching human children play alongside young Valerians. The integration program had exceeded even her optimistic expectations. Human scientists had contributed breakthrough innovations to energy research and environmental management. Human cultural advisors had helped resolve diplomatic disputes between member species. Human families had formed friendships across the galaxy, showing that year-round reproduction led to cooperation rather than conflict. Tom and Lisa approached with their children, now comfortable residents of Nexus Prime. Princess, we wanted to thank you again for giving humanity this chance. Lyra smiled as she watched their daughter toddle through the crystal formations, while their son examined the pulsing energy patterns with fascination. I should thank you for showing me that the galaxy is far more diverse and wonderful than I ever imagined. Any word on the final decision? Lisa asked. The council votes next week, but I think the evidence speaks for itself. Lyra gestured toward the mixed group of human and Valerian children playing together. Your species has brought new energy and ideas to our civilization without disrupting our stability. Tom nodded toward Commander Thane, who was observing the children from a distance. Even the commander seems less concerned about us now. He has admitted privately that humans pose no security threat, Lyra said. In fact, he has requested human advisors for our military research programs. As they watched the children play, Princess Lyra reflected on how much had changed since that first disastrous diplomatic meeting. The humans had not only proven their biological claims, but had shown the galaxy that diversity in reproduction could lead to diversity in thinking, innovation, and problem-solving. The truth about human year-round breeding had indeed challenged everything the Valerians thought they knew about intelligent life. But instead of destroying their understanding, it had expanded it in ways that made the entire galaxy richer and more capable of facing whatever challenges the future might bring. In the end, Princess Lyra realized the humans had given the galaxy something far more valuable than new technology or scientific knowledge. They had given them proof that there were always new ways to grow, adapt, and thrive among the stars.